Welcome to the Credit Repair Show with the boy, the credit doctor, Angelo McCutcheon, coming to you with another, we're going to call this late night edition. All right, so as you come on into the room, if you're coming in through Facebook, you know what to do. Hit that like button, hit that share button, give me some thumbs up, give me some hearts. If you're coming through on the YouTube, please subscribe, hit the notification bell, like, and share. And if you want to make a comment so it can come into the chat room, you're on Facebook, make sure you click on that link so your comments will be seen or come into the chat room, StreamYard's chat room. You know how we do. So tonight, we're going to be talking about how long can information or negative information stay on your credit report. I get this question a lot with a lot of my clients. Is how long, I opened up this account in 2017. How long does it stay on my credit report? Or when does it get deleted if I do nothing? When? So we're going to talk about that. We're going to definitely talk about that. And we're going to talk about who's able to see your credit report. Who's able to see your credit report? What kind of information is on your credit report? We're going to try to get to all these topics. What's a credit score? What is a credit report? We're going to try to delve into all of these things tonight, and at the same time, not try to be on here too long. So make sure you hit the like button, hit the share button, give me some hearts. You know what we do here. Let's make it happen. Let's make it happen, y'all. Let's make it happen. So good evening. Patricia is already in the house. Big supporter. Patricia Adams is a big supporter in the house tonight. Okay, so the question becomes, how long can negative information stay on your credit report? And when does it start? The clock starts. And will it be deleted automatically? Let's look at that information first. So according to the Fair Credit Reporting Act, which is the laws that govern the whole credit industry when it comes to information being reported on your credit report, how long does information stay on your credit report? Well, according to the Fair Credit Reporting Act, when it comes to anything outside of bankruptcy, Chapter 11, or Chapter 11, Chapter 7. I'm sorry, Chapter 7. Bankruptcy, Chapter 7 stays on your credit report for 10 years. Everything else, basically 7 years. Well, a tax lien will also be 10 years. That's if you do nothing about it, right? If they don't report inaccurate information. But basically 7 years for everything else, charge-off, collections, late payments, all that stuff. 7 years, if you do nothing about it, stays on your credit report. Now, the question is, when does the 7 years start? When does the 7 years start? There's always been some debate about that. Does it start when you first open up the account? Does it start when you're first late? Does it start when the account gets charged off? Well, according again to the Fair Credit Reporting Act, that clock for things being on your credit report starts the first time you become late on any account. When you become 30 days late, when you are 30 days late on a payment, then that 7-year clock starts of how long that negative information can be on your credit report. All right. So now you have two things you got to look at: 7 years on your credit report, but you also have a statute of limitation, and each state, is different, of how long a creditor can sue you for that same debt once it goes into a negative status. For instance, because most of my followers or listeners is from New Jersey, we know that New Jersey is 6 years as far as when a creditor can sue you after your account first goes into a negative status. 6 years. If you do nothing else, they will have up to 6 years to sue you. But the account can stay on your credit report for 7 years unless it's bankruptcy, Chapter 7, then that's 10 years. Chapter 11 is 7 years, and I believe 13 is 7 years. But chapter 7 would be 10 years on your credit report if you do nothing about it. All right. So here's what you need to know when you're looking at your credit reports. When you're looking at an account on your credit report, don't determine, I'll say, like some people will say, well, I opened this account 10 years ago. Shouldn't it be off by then? No, it's not when you open the account. We then got to look at when was the first time you went into a negative status. And then it might be 4 years ago you went into, you was making all your payments up to 4 years, the last 4 years, and then you missed a payment 30 days, or you never made another payment, whatever the case may be, but it became late after you came that first status 4 years. So let's just say, for an example, let's try to make this simple, right? So you open up an account in 2010. Let's say you open up an account in 2010. Let's say with Capital One. I like to use them for an example. And you're making payments all the way up to, you opened in 2010, then in 2015, and you became late on that payment. Whatever happened, you lost a job or whatever could have happened, and you just didn't make a payment. And you missed 30 days from making a payment, it now goes into a negative status in 2015. That means it will be 7 years from 2015 that it will stay on your credit report. Not 2010 when you first opened it, but 2015 when it first went late. And then 7 years after that. Now, there's always talk, and I'll be remiss if I don't mention it. People say, well, hey, what if you catch up on your payments and then it goes late again, right? Well, that would be in reference to the statute of limitation, as when they can actually file a lawsuit against you for not paying it. The 7 years is still running. The 7 years is still running from 2015. It doesn't matter, at least my interpretation of the law, it doesn't matter if you catch up down the road. But the first time it went into a negative status, it goes 7 years from that time when it has to be deleted from your credit report. So a lot of times you guys are, and the credit bureau, let me put it like this, the credit bureau a lot of times does not remove it after 7 years, and then you're forced to make them remove it. Sometimes they will, but sometimes, and I've seen this, helping people repair their credit for over 10 years now, I've seen a lot of accounts where it was still on a person's credit report after 7 years when it should have been deleted. And then, they have to dispute that information, and typically the credit bureaus will delete it if you dispute it from that standpoint and showing them the 7-year rule. All right, so they will do it. But because a lot of you guys don't look at your credit reports, you don't read your credit reports, a lot of this information stays on your credit report, and then it hurts you when you go to try to buy a home, or you go to try to buy a car, or you want to get a loan or anything like that. The things that should not be reporting on your credit report is still on there based on errors by the credit bureau not removing it after 7 years. So that what that means is you have to do your due diligence. You have to really look after your credit report. You have to monitor your credit report. It's up to you. Do not assume that the credit bureaus will just take it off automatically. They should when the 7 years is up, but don't assume that. Based on the fact that they make a lot of errors, based on the fact that they have hundreds of people, or even thousands when you consider their workers overseas who work for them. But in those thousands of people that work for them, they have millions of data and information being supplied to them on a daily basis. So of course, the human error is going to come into effect, and there are going to be errors. Now, credit repair is the legal way that you can fix those errors, those inaccurate information. So anytime you hear me talking about you cleaning up your credit, you fixing your credit. I'm talking in terms of not only building positive credit, which you need to do, but you have to look for anything that's being reported as inaccurate information on your credit report. You have to deal with the inaccuracy. If something is accurate 100%, then yeah, you can't fight that if it's 100% accurate. But it's up to you to monitor and to look after what's being reported on your credit report. It's up to you guys to do that. That's how important you should be taking your credit, and again, every year going into the new year, I get a lot of people who, just like they say, hey, I'm gonna get in shape this year, I'm gonna exercise this year. I get a lot of people say, hey, this is the year I'm gonna get my credit right, I'm gonna work on my credit, I'm gonna fix my credit. And a lot of times they start the journey, but they don't complete the journey, because sometimes they might write dispute letters, and then the credit bureaus will send them a letter saying, excuse me, saying we verified that information, and then they don't know what to do after that. And there's a lot of things you can actually do when it comes to how the credit bureaus, TransUnion, Equifax, or Experian will monitor your credit or just investigate the dispute letters that you would send them. Right? There's a lot of things that you can actually do. In the law, the Fair Credit Reporting Act or the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act gives you a lot of tools and a lot of weapons to do follow-up disputes and things like that. So don't give up. Typically, don't give up after your first dispute and it comes back, hey, this information is verified, because a lot of times they don't really do their due diligence. And if you see that there are some inaccuracies, that there are some factual inaccuracies on your credit report, then you should be monitoring that. All right? And you should not give up that easy. So again, the question for tonight is, how long does negative information stay on your credit report? And according to the Fair Credit Reporting Act, 7 years, not 7 years from when you opened the account, but 7 years from the time it first went into default or delinquent status, however you want to say that. Once it went into a delinquent status, now 7 years, it has to be deleted from your credit report. Even late payments, if you just got late payments on there, those after each one, let's say you got 3 late payments, one was 2 years ago, one was a year ago, and even those have to be on there 7 years. Each 7 years, they have to delete one of those late payments. Now, again, I'm talking in terms of if you do nothing else. If you don't look for no inaccuracies, or you don't find no inaccuracies, you just let it ride, then it's 7 years. And it has to come off automatically. But again, make sure, don't just assume that it's going to happen. And so a lot of cases it does, but there are some cases when it does not do what it has to do. The credit bureaus do what they're supposed to do. And that's why a lot of consumer attorneys file lawsuits against the credit bureaus or debt collectors or original creditors based on inaccurate information constantly being reported when it has been brought to their attention that this is an error. And we'll talk about some people who have sued the credit bureaus and won millions of dollars, right? We'll talk about that in another video, right? So again, let's talk about that now. Let's talk about who was able to see your credit report. First of all, what is a credit report? Let's deal with that. What is a credit report? A credit report is basically a bunch of information that has been put together by the credit bureaus as they get, as creditors furnish them certain information about the consumer, about you and me, the consumer. They then put it together, in terms of a report, right? So before it becomes a page report, it's considered a credit file that you have. Everyone has a credit file, or everyone who has established credit, some type of credit in the past, has a credit file. Some people have a thin file, some people have a big fat file, and some people have files in between. But a credit report is just a bunch of information of your paying history or non-paying history that has been put together by the credit bureaus, the 3 major credit bureaus, that is, which is TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian. TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian. They are known as the three big credit bureaus, and they collect all this data. Matter of fact, the creditors send them every time you apply for some type of credit. They take that application and they send it to the credit bureaus. The credit bureaus say, okay, this is your name, this is your address, this is your telephone number, right? And this is the lender who's either giving you credit or denied you for credit. Now, if you got credit, here is your paying history. You've been making payments every month. Oh, you missed a month, 30 days or 60 days or 90 days. All that information gets reported over the years, gets put on what we know as a credit report, and then reported on when you want to get your credit reports, or the funny thing about it is the creditors give them the information, right? They supply the credit bureaus with the information. Then when you go back and fill out another application, the creditors then have to pay the very people that they give the information to. They got to pay them now to see your credit report. So they give them the credit report for free. And then when they want to see your whole credit report, you, the consumer, they got to pay the credit bureaus. And that's why I always tell people that, listen, when it comes to the credit bureaus, the lenders are their customers. Not you, not me, not the consumer, but the lenders are their customers, because they make all the money from the majority of the money from the lenders. And then if you decide that you want to pay for your credit reports through the credit bureaus, they make money off of you as well. But you don't have to pay for it, because if you saw my last video, you can go to annualcreditreport.com and get a free copy of all three of your credit reports once every 12 months. You can print it out, or if you're not savvy, if you're not computer savvy, as they would say, if I'm saying that word right, then you can actually call them up and they will send it to your home. All right, but you can, and you are entitled every 12 months to a free copy of all three of your credit reports. All right. So again, that's what a credit report basically is: information that's been compiled from lenders, sent to the credit bureaus. They then formulate it into a report. They send it to you. When you need to see your credit report, they send it to lenders. When they want to buy your credit history or buy your credit report to see how well your paying history is, that's basically what a credit report is. Now, which segue into who is allowed to see your credit report. Who is allowed to see your credit report? That's the question. Well, to put it in a nutshell, anybody who's going to extend you any type of credit is allowed to see your credit report, right? And that's why when you apply for any type of credit, what do? They ask for your social, right? Because when they ask for your social, they basically telling you that, hey, we're going to look at your credit report. Well, they actually tell you that anyway, but that's the purpose of your social, so they can pull your credit report to see how well not only your credit score is, but also see how well you've been making your payments, your credit history is as far as payments, and how many lenders do you have, how many creditors do you have. So they go through your whole profile, right? The credit score is a good thing, and you should be in the 700s or higher, right? But it's not the only thing. A lot of times they're also looking at how many lenders do you actually have. How many creditors do you actually have? Because if you have too many, even if you're making on-time payments, even if you have too many, whatever they deem to be too many, 10 accounts, 11 accounts, 12 accounts, sometimes they will feel that if they become your 14th account, then you're going to start defaulting because you have too much credit out there. And so they become nervous about that too. So you can have a 700 or 800 credit score, and you can be paying everybody. But then if you have too many accounts, sometimes some lenders will deny you just because of that, because they feel that if they add themselves to your account, as one of your creditors, then that might be the one that tilts you over and cause you to start defaulting on your loans, particularly the one that they give you. So it is possible that you can be denied credit. It is definitely possible that you can be denied credit even when you have a 700 credit score. So keep that in mind as well. But typically, they just want to see how you manage your credit, how you use it. Do you max out your credit cards, right? So they're going to look at those things there. So when we're talking about who's able to look at your credit, well, we're talking about anybody who has a permissible purpose for looking at your credit. So that can be credit card companies, that could be mortgage companies, auto lenders, banks. Now, cable TV, trying to rent an apartment, they want to look at your credit, light bill, life insurance, gas bill. Basically, everybody wants to look at your credit report before they extend you any type of credit. The dentist, everybody wants to look at your credit report. And because what they want to see is, hey, if you're not paying those people back, then what makes us think that you're going to pay us back? That's their reasoning. That's their thinking. All right. So it is important that you make sure that your credit is, on point. Make sure your credit is on point. So who can see your credit report? Just about everybody I mentioned, and then more. Right? As long as they have a permissible purpose to look at it, meaning that you're trying to get credit from them, you've applied for credit for them, or anything like that, then they have the right to look at. They're going to extend, you credit. So they have the right to look at your credit report. So that's important for you to know. All right. So a couple of things there. How long do negative items stay on your credit report? 7 years. Bankruptcy, Chapter 7, 10 years. Tax liens, unpaid tax liens, 10 years as well. Basically everything else, 7 years. Now also judgment. Let's talk about judgments, because that's a big thing too, right? Judgments have not been reporting on credit reports since I believe 2015, 16, somewhere around there, maybe a little less than that. They stopped reporting judgments on credit reports. So even if somebody sued you, you won't see that on your credit report. It'll still be out there. It'll still be in the court's records. And if you're trying to purchase a home, the mortgage people are going to look at your court records to see if you have any judgments or liens on there. So just because a judgment is not showing up on your credit report, it is still out there. And it is something that you must take care of, particularly if you plan on buying a home down the road, or any type of major purchase, or anything in which somebody wants to know, have you ever not only filed bankruptcy, but have you ever had a judgment against you? All right. So those are questions that are asked out there. All right. So just keep that in mind as well. All right. So again, we're going to wrap it up here. Just want to talk to you guys a little bit. If you have any questions, or if anybody out there would love a free consultation, over the phone, credit repair consultation with me, all you have to do, all my information is in the description of all my videos. Just contact me through email, through Facebook Messenger, however you want to do it, you can contact me and we can set up an appointment. And what we'll do is just go over your credit reports, give you what we feel is the best way for you to handle it, help you build positive credit, give you some knowledge on that. And then if you are interested in our services, then we can talk about that as well. But we'll always give you a free over the phone consultation. All right. So I appreciate all you guys coming into the room. Even if you're watching this on a video, replay, I should say. If you're watching this on a replay, if you have any questions, just type it in, whether it's on YouTube or Facebook, whatever our private Facebook group. Type in your questions. We'll always come back and answer that to the best of our ability. So with that said, I appreciate you guys. Remember, we'll be coming on live a lot more, and hopefully we'll be coming on live. We're going to get a set time when we're going to really start coming on, like 8 o'clock, 8 or 8:30. Whenever we come on, we want to focus a set time of doing that, so we'll have some consistency when you guys know when I'm going to come on. But also hit the notification bell, hit the follow button, so whenever we do go live, you will get that information. So I appreciate all you guys. Remember, this is the Credit Doctor letting you know and appreciating you guys for following, encouraging, being part of what we do. Remember, we do have a credit repair podcast called The Credit Repair Show, heard on iTunes and anywhere where you can get a podcast. We're out there with over 50-some episodes talking about everything from credit repair to debt collection to lawyers, all that good stuff. Look for that as well. So you guys have a blessed day. I appreciate you guys. Stay blessed. What we always say, stay blessed. But whatever you do, make sure you are a blessing. And with that, we say, have a blessed day.